Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleos. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Acts. We're in the amazing sermon by the deacon Stephen in chapter 7, where after the leaders of the Jews accuse Stephen of blasphemy, he throws these accusations back on the Jewish leaders themselves by reviewing the history of Israel. And he starts with Abraham, that God's salvation and covenant is with him and by faith, and moves through the patriarchs and God's faithfulness to them, as well as his faithfulness to Abraham, and now comes into the time of the Moses himself. And this is a big point to them because the Israelites typically built a lot of stock in Moses and the law and what God did through him in terms of their personal history. And it's the Pharisees and the leadership who took the law and added to it and are using it now at the time of Jesus to cement their power and wealth. Verse 33, God tells Moses at the burning bush in Exodus 3, take off your feet or take off your shoes because this is hallowed ground. I've seen the problems, the affliction of my people in Egypt. And again, paraphrasing, he's coming to save them and redeem him. He gave Moses signs and wonders and led them, redeemed them, we know from 1 Corinthians 10, out of the land of Egypt. He purchased them and they became his people. And Moses said, and this is in verse 37, I will raise up a prophet like myself and your brethren, and you shall hear him. Otherwise, to the Jewish ears, obey. This is Deuteronomy 18:15 and verse 18 also, a well-known prophetic messianic verse linking Moses to Christ, also quoted in Acts 3. And when you were in the church of the wilderness, he's not talking about the New Testament church. He's talking about the assembly of Israel in the desert. The church doesn't begin until Acts 2. The angel which spake to him on Mount Sinai, where they received the law, and who gave Moses the law, noted here as oracles, to whom the fathers would not obey. Okay, and they turned their hearts back to Egypt, saying, oh, let us go back to Egypt and be slaves again. Things were better there than the desert. They said this numerous times, saying to Aaron, go make us gods before us. This is when they rebelled and in Exodus, after Moses went back up on the mountain to the mountain for 40 days. They made a calf and sacrificed idols and rejoiced in the work of their own hands and not God's hands, in verse 41. And God turned them over to the sacrifices of the idols. Otherwise, in a sense, he let them go to their own sin, and they wandered 40 years in the wilderness, sacrificing to Moloch. This was a particularly pernicious god associated with the sacrifice of children, and Remphan, associated with the worship of the celestial bodies. So, what have we seen here? Well, Moses is setting them up, Stephen is setting the Jewish leaders up to receive his accusation, which we'll talk about next time. But here we see that God has mercifully taken the Israelites out of Egypt, redeeming them through the Red Sea, in a sense, paying the price for them to take them out of Egypt, to give them eternal life through the coming kingdom, as typified by Israel, the land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey. Having done this and promised him this, and them agreeing that they are his people and will obey in Exodus 19, they did not. They turned their own way time and time and time again. And God, because of the sin, turned them over to their sin and kept a remnant that he chose. So how does that relate to Christ? Well, Moses is a type of Christ, and they pictures Christ who will come to teach the Israelites what that Messiah looks like. And God was faithful to Israel through Moses as his mediator, redeemed Israel through Moses, and blessed them, and the Jews resisted them. And it's basically telling them, as you resisted Moses and the prophets, your fathers, you are like the fathers, and that you've resisted, in a sense, the new Moses, the real Moses, the Messiah himself. You've resisted with the same type of sin to worship your own works and your own ways and to do what you want to do. Okay, so quick overview, but let's stop there. We'll come to the point of this sermon next time, and we'll see the results next time or the video after. Thank you for joining me today. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.